everybody, it's me, Zach, and welcome back to my channel. Hi, hello, how are you all doing? I had a long weekend at home visiting some family, visiting my mom who recently had surgery and just catching up with folks, but I am back again, ready to catch up on some stuff. And today I want to quickly touch base, just very quickly touch base about a clip from Miss Roselyn Reed, who keeps talking about me because, to be fair to her, people keep bringing me up in her chat, but she just doesn't know how to handle this. She doesn't, I don't know. I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt here because I want to think that she's not stupid and she could just go in and block words if she really doesn't want to address me, or she could opt to just not respond to the people who bring me up in her chat. But she does keep doing it. And, you know, a lot of times it's just a repeat of the same stuff. And today it's a little bit of a repeat of some of the same stuff. But we got some things to talk about. But she's sending some really mixed messaging when it comes to talking about the Zachary in her chat. A lot of times she'll be like, no, don't talk about him. Don't talk about him.
I don't care, Emma. I'm annoyed that you're talking about someone I don't want to talk about. I'm not annoyed that they uploaded a video about me. You don't need to come report other channels' activities to me. You're stirring shit up. You're annoying. So I'm annoyed. Sorry.
And then other times she'll be very happy to just shoot the shit about me as long as everybody's in agreement that Zachary is awful.
Zach is a loser. He hates heavy women and has to bash them. He's pure trash. Your words, not mine, girl. Alright. Let's preheat this pan. Wait, so are we or aren't we supposed to talk about ZM mixed messages? I'm not sure what you mean, Cat Lou. I just don't want to fucking talk about it.
And in particular, in a recent live stream that I think happened while I was maybe at home. I don't know when it happened. I wasn't paying attention. But in a recent live stream, she started agreeing with a person in her chat who said that gay men just hate fat women.
I do find it a pattern that gay men don't like obese women. You know, Carmen, I've noticed that pattern too. It's odd. I don't quite understand it, like the psychology or whatever, but I've noticed that pattern too. It's interesting. Because it's always fat women. It's not fat men. It's interesting. I don't know. I don't have any real insightful commentary to add to that point, so I've never really brought it up, but I've noticed it too. Exactly, Linda. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, I just want to cook and hang out. I'm not trying to get into shit. I'm over it. So let's just move on. I mean, if you're not entertained, you're welcome to go, hun. I don't know what the fuck is up with the chat, the vibe of the chat today, but I'm over it.
So obviously, there's a lot to unpack there, divas. There's a lot to unpack. And I think one of the first things that we should maybe talk about is gender identity and how I identify and things like that, because I appreciate people. There are a lot of people who want to argue in my defense and want to battle in my defense and things like that. And I just want to clear up how I personally identify and maybe share some things. So in particular, I think a lot of people, and honestly, truly me to some extent, took issue with her agreeing that I am a gay man. Now, I don't usually try to pick a fight about these things because even just me suggesting that I might not be a man is enough to like fill my comment section with people who are like, there's only two genders. And to be quite honest, I realized a long time ago it's not worth my time and energy to fight with those particular types of people, right? Because those particular types of people have already decided how they feel about non-binary people, trans people, etc. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, I identify as a queer, non-binary person. And when it comes to pronouns, I think maybe my preference might be they, them, but I don't take large issue and in fact include he, him on all my social media profiles. That might not be the case forever, but currently that's how I feel, is like I feel very affirmed by they, them. And also I've spent my whole life getting called he, him, and it doesn't do anything that's dysphoric for me, right? It like doesn't take me out of like my non-binary fantasy, you know what I'm saying? Whereas they, them just like affirms the non-binary fantasy. It affirms who I am and it makes me feel like I'm that person. But he, him doesn't like hurt me by any means, which is why I will still respond to it and I'm not gonna like sit here and pick battles with people on the internet about it. And I've shared about this at different points on my various social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter probably, definitely on Twitch and definitely here on YouTube. But when it comes to being non-binary and things like that, I just want to say that for me, it's personal to me. It's really about understanding myself. I don't identify as non-binary to please other people, nor do I let other people's opinions about me being non-binary affect how I see myself. When I started to like learn more about terms that were available for me to use, non-binary has been something that really validates who I feel like I am and really validates a lot of feelings I've had over time of like really not understanding my gender, nor how it could be best represented, things like that. And while it's very personal to me, and like my understanding of it is very personal to me, I have shared a bit about it as a means of letting you know who I am and having an understanding of like my perspective on things, because I do think that what informs some of my opinions and perspectives when it comes to the commentary I give on the internet, a lot of that does have to do with who I am as a person. And one of those things is that I'm non-binary. One of those things is that I'm queer. One of those things is also that I've been a person who struggles with weight a lot of my life. I am somebody who's from a rural area that now lives in a city. I'm somebody who in a previous life didn't have a lot of access to people who looked different than me, and now I do, and I'm learning and I'm growing and I'm trying to understand better. And so I share all of these things, not because I just want to sit here and talk about myself, but because we're all informed in our opinions and things like that by the things that have happened to us in our life, by the things that make us who we are. And so yes, when I come on the internet, I do share these things because I got a lot of opinions and it helps to know where they're coming from. It helps to know what informed those opinions, informed those feelings, etc. And while Rosie's opinion about me doesn't really matter and how Rosie views me doesn't really matter, Rosie agreeing with this chatter and affirming that she thinks of me as a gay man like she thinks of these other reactors as gay men confirms what we mostly already knew about Rosie, which is that her allyship to the trans community is performative at best. And to that extent, I want to be very clear that Rosie is aware that I'm non-binary, to the extent that in a video, literally the last video I posted on this YouTube channel, I reacted to a clip where she corrected herself when she referred to me as dude.
Why is DM so weirdly angry about you? Great question, A. AA is your name? That is such a great question, because nothing that dude, or shit, sorry, that person. I don't care.
Which, to be clear, I sometimes get dude and bro and things like that, and it's usually from people who use dude and bro in the same way that I use like girl, diva, and bestie. So I don't typically take that personally. I don't take that in a bad way. But I did think it was like funny that she, made a purpose to like adjust her language at that point in that clip, but seemingly not when this person was in her chat referring to me as a gay man. One of the ways that I know that Rosie is well aware of my identity as a non-binary person is that she actually, surprise, credited me for how she better understood her own identity. If it's not clear to you yet, anytime she has anything to say or anytime she's ever done anything on the internet, there's probably a DM that she sent to me that's contradicted herself in some kind of way or like proves me right in some kind of way. So on May 4th of 2023, she sent me a message that said, "Hey Zach, I just wanted to say some things to say because I saw you check in recent lot, but I hyper post on a lot on here as I am in the troubleshooting phase of launching a quality YouTube channel. And yes, revenge is the best served on a plate of success and a side of karma, but in my rage process, I came out as non-binary in a rush and I regret that. But I told my mom and it went well. That video you made flipped a switch I didn't understand. And the foundation of your Amberlynn content changed my life. I found out less than a week ago I have untreated diabetes and I'm changing my life around. You inspire me to make quality content." I'm not sure exactly which video of mine. Maybe she's referring to not one of the non-binary videos, but the way it's worded to me makes it sound like she watched me talk about being non-binary and opted to come out to her mom as a result. I do think she has more recently rolled back some of that. I don't know how she currently identifies with her gender or things like that. I haven't seen her talk about it in recent history, so I couldn't tell you. And it's also perfectly acceptable if that has since changed. I believe that gender is fluid and sometimes our understanding of gender is fluid, and maybe that changes over time and that's okay. So yeah, I just do think it's very clear that like, especially in recent history, she has a difficulty keeping up with things about my identity. And I do think it's frustrating. Like, it's like an annoying concept that she just can't seem to figure this out. Although she alleges, as I pointed out in previous videos, that she's a trans ally. She's a fierce trans ally. I think we all know that's simply not the case. And for what it's worth, Rosie's opinion or understanding of my gender doesn't really impact how affirmed I feel about my own identity, because I get to decide the things about my identity and I determine what is valid for myself. I don't seek affirmation from people like Quirky Love Rosie on the internet when it comes to who I am as a person. I get to decide if my identity is valid, and no stranger on the internet can determine the authenticity of who I am. And outside of that, my identity is regularly affirmed by the people I know in real life who are in my community and who are my support. But yeah, all of that to say, I definitely agree that Quirky Love Rosie is a performative ally. There's probably more to discuss when it comes to the so-called psychology. I think that's how she worded it. The psychology of gay men hating fat women, to the extent that I'm not really sure where to start, but I'm gonna do my best. And I think to understand why maybe there are gay men in this corner of the internet, or queer people in this corner of the internet like myself, it might be important to start with Amberlynn Reid, who herself is a gay woman. And I've told this story pretty much ad nauseum at this point over the course of the history of my channel, but just one more time for Miss Rosie'Lynn Reid, who once upon a time claimed she was such a big fan of Zachary Michael. I don't know how she missed this and all of that, but just one more time for Miss Ma'am is that I started following her because I was doing keto. I was trying to lose weight. I was looking at influencers or people on the internet in general who were also trying to lose weight. I found her because I also found like mukbang content at the time. And so I got this weird mix of her on my recommended page because She both did mukbang content and weight loss content. As you can tell, that's not really worked out for her. But I stuck around because she was a lesbian who I thought at the time was trying to genuinely lose weight. And then I continued to stick around because I realized she was a mess. And I guess maybe one thing I'll say about gay people is that gay people do love mess. Like, I don't know, or at least this gay person does. And to be quite honest, most social media platforms and the analytics behind the scenes won't tell you the demographics of people's like sexual orientation or gender identity. Well, it might tell you like however they're registered with like the Google, right? But like it's not going to tell you if somebody is non-binary, queer, gay, lesbian, etc. So I can't really quantify with like actual data this to be the case, but there are a lot of people in this corner of the internet who are queer in some kind of way, and I suspect it's for the very same reason that I'm in this corner of the internet, which is Amberlynn Reid is a queer woman. Amberlynn Reid is a lesbian who has been in several lesbian relationships at this point. And I can share many anecdotes of people telling me that they're here for the same reason. That's obviously not the same as like data, right? But anecdotally, so many people have told me that they're queer and they're in this space because they resonate with me, they resonate with Amberlynn's story. And that's also to say that I think a lot of us do see ourselves in some kind of way in these people. I think a lot of us also don't see ourselves in these people either. So, you know, it's way more nuanced about it all than that, right? It's like whittling it down to just these like basic identities. Like being queer absolutely does impact my opinion about things, but me being queer is not exclusively the reason or connected to why I cover people like Amberlynn, Chantal, or Quirky Love Rosie. I don't know, does that make sense? I think some people want things to just be so black and white, and certainly my identity, like I've shared in this video, definitely influences my opinions. But I don't hate fat women because I'm gay. And the gay shit aside, which like I love gay shit, but gay shit aside, reducing my feelings about any of the girls down to Zach just hates fat women is intentionally missing the point on Rosie's end. But how about I let Rosie explain that herself, because spoiler alert, there's another DM, a DM I've shared before on my channel, where she agrees with me when it comes to Zach doesn't hate fat women. She said, I've watched you for a long time, and as someone is literally the same size as Amberlynn and has had trolls weaponized her name like a slur in my direction, I can tell you I know you aren't fatphobic because I wouldn't watch you. For example, I think Oh Lordy It's Jordy is a nasty person who would be far more sadistic if YouTube allowed. I think he picks at her to feel better about himself. I think you were invested for genuine reasons and then shit got way too meta with Amber. As someone who's constantly impacted by fat phobia, I don't think it helps the movement when people claim fat phobia just because they don't like being called out for the behavior. Fat is a state of the body, a non-moral issue, and your dissension towards others is about their behaviors, not their bodies. You're clearly a kind person, and fuck anyone that's trying to defer you from talking about fat media. There are enough people like you out there. That's my thought on it anyways. And honestly, I very much agree with her about those things. Like, we're very much on the same page about that. And when it comes to Miss Rosie herself, I've made it quite clear that the things that I don't like about Rosie are tied to her behavior and her actions specifically towards me. But it's not just about her behavior and actions towards me, it's also about her inability to stand up for the things that she claims she cares about, such as protecting kids, being a fierce trans ally, and being against predators. I guess I should also say that I find it really interesting that Rosie, who's allegedly so opposed to being looped in and bundled up with people like Amberlynn and Chantal, enjoys making such blanket statements as gay men hate fat women. The people mentioned by the chatter in her stream included me, Oh Lordy It's Jordy, Alex is Shook, and Michael B. Petty. And I think if there's anybody who's watched all four of us in their own time, in their own way, they'd be able to agree that we all have different perspectives, different lived experiences, and different approaches to covering this content here on the internet. It's really wild to me that we'd be all put in this group together when I don't know that we all even agree on the topics of Amber Lynn and Chantal. I also won't lie, I watched Charlie Gold talk about this a little bit in a live stream, and one thing that she said really resonated with me, which is, does Rosie want is there like some kind of quota? Some kind of quota when it comes to content that I can meet for Rosie that will put me at an acceptable level of like covering all different types of people. Because for all intents and purposes, my content is not limited to just women or just fat people, but it does have a lot of commentary about fat women. But I've not shied away from talking about why I primarily cover a lot of women on my channel, and that's because I relate to them. I'm not somebody who's ever related to most men unless they were gay in some kind of way. I enjoy watching women and hearing women talk about their lived experience and things like that. Like, women's stories matter.
Because women's stories matter.
Yeah. Right.
They just matter.
But yeah, I have covered men before. Even here on the main channel, I've done a lot of videos in the past about Nikocado Avocado, for example, who is a man who was once upon a time also fat. And just to be clear, that doesn't absolve me from hating fat women. Like, that doesn't mean that I don't hate fat women. I don't. Like, that's not a good enough excuse on its own. But again, I'm asking, like, what is the quota? How are we determining that I hate fat women if primarily the content I've made about fat women is criticizing them for their behaviors and not necessarily their weight, their looks, etc. And while we're talking about fat people, I've also never shied away from the fact that I relate to people who are fat because I am somebody who has struggled with my weight, my body image, etc. for many years of my life. And trust and believe that there are plenty of people on the internet who will be happy to let you know how fat they think I am. I don't know, it just all makes me wonder if there's like a certain demographic that's allowed to talk about Rosie's weird behavior. Like, is there an acceptable demographic that can come onto this platform and say, hey Rosie, you're a weirdo, you do things in a weird way, you lay in bed with people who have been accused of sexual assault, you don't stick up for trans people, you befriend people like Shani for Christ. Would it be different if I was a woman? Would it be different if I was also fat? Like, I'm just trying to understand what would make it acceptable for me to call out that problematic behavior. Or maybe this is really just specifically targeted at me. Maybe this is really not about gay men in general and it's just about Zachary Michael who's calling you out on your bullshit. And calling you out on your bullshit with receipts of your own words and messages and behaviors, by the way. I'm not just like making shit up like Rosie does about me when it comes to like, I don't know, taking care of my dog. I really didn't anticipate making another Rosie video so soon. I was actually gonna do, and probably still will do, some Chantal content because I really do believe she's at least coming back to Canada. And if she stays in Canada, I want to make some content about it. But I did have some thoughts about this, you know? I really did. I'm a very, like, proud and happy non-binary person, and while it does inform a lot of my opinions and things like that, it is not because I'm a non-binary person, it is not because I'm queer that I don't like Rosie. So just to summarize, I don't like Rosie because she's a parasocial weirdo. I don't like Rosie because she comes onto the internet and lies about me. I don't like Rosie because she claims she doesn't care about me, but then spends hours of her day, presumably, sitting on Reddit's reading about me. Rosie's weird, okay? And that's enough on its own. It doesn't matter that she's a woman or that she's fat. She's just weird. Alright, okay? Anyways, I'm gonna shut the fuck up for today. I think I've said everything I need to. But I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did and you're brand new to my channel, consider subscribing down below. Hit the bell button so you get a notification every single time I post a new video. Make sure to leave me a comment, hit like, click share, and follow me on all my social media. I had so much fun today. I hope you did too, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!